Harper and HarperAudio present More and More and More, An All-Consuming History of Energy by Jean-Baptiste Fressoz. Read by Richard Trinder. A note before we begin. Don't forget to download the accompanying enhancement PDF from your audiobook provider. It contains charts from the book. To Michel and Josette, Cecilia, Leonore, and Esteban. Forward by David W. Orr, Professor of Practice, Arizona State University. The past is never dead. It's not even past. William Faulkner. In an old and familiar story, a lost traveler asking for directions is told, "You can't get there from here." Jean-Baptiste Fressoz similarly argues, our energy roadmap assumes steady progress, transitioning from one primary fuel to another, driven by advances in technology and efficiency, culminating in something called sustainability. In fact, the history shows that we are heading towards greater perils, not safe harbor, and need a new understanding of energy and material dynamics. For a half-century or longer, experts and economists reassured us that we were proceeding smoothly from wood to coal, to oil, to gas, to nuclear, to solar. The actual story, however, is far more complicated. In fact, we are using more of all energy sources, and the reasons are embedded in complex symbioses in which older forms of energy support, but do not replace the newer forms, and various uses of all energy sources do not disappear, but evolve and grow. Footnote. For example, wind machines require steel and concrete, which, in turn, require coal to make steel, diesel to transport coal on roads made of oil, asphalt, diesel to mine coal, and so forth. End footnote. After 2 centuries of energy transitions, Fressoz writes, humanity has never burned so much oil and gas, so much coal, and so much wood. Instead of discrete transitions, in other words, the actual history is one of entanglement and interdependence of technologies and fossil fuels, as well as a supporting narrative that justifies procrastination on climate destabilization right up to the edge. Truth be told, we have no accurate map to better destinations than the progressively hotter world in prospect. So far, leadership, political, scientific, corporate, has behaved rather like a high-wire artist who regards the law of gravity as only an interesting but untested theory. As a result, we are still committed to more economic growth and the advancement of the modern paradigm, not to its transformation and adaptation to the limits of the ecosphere. We continue to operate on the unspoken wager that its flaws can be patched, and that modernization, sometimes thought of as synonymous with progress, carries the seeds of its own repair and renewal. That is rather like believing that a Boeing 737 MAX could be re-engineered by the crew in mid-flight. Whatever the problem, proposed solutions seldom call for improvement in our behavior, ethics, politics, economy, or governance. Matters of the humanities, social sciences, and our central convictions. We pine for technological fixes to solve political and moral problems, without much concern for consequences, including their effects on larger systems and complex climate feedback loops or democratic institutions. I write in the aftermath of a U.S. election that made a related point. Optimists believed our sins of racism, misogyny, insurrection, pollution, and ecological insolvency were receding into history. Alas, in 2024, the past erupted into our present with a vengeance, lit by the climate change-driven pyro-apocalypse that devastated Los Angeles. Instead of receding in the rearview mirror,
Sample complete. Ready to continue?